It's about that time of day again. My name is Joseph. Tuesday evening, November 14th. Welcome back to our nightly newsletter. We're covering crude oil, S&P, Nasdaq, gold, and euro this evening. Crude is bearish and trading at two levels of major support. Tell me to look for a two-legged correction off the lows for selling opportunities up in the battle zone tomorrow morning. The S&P is bullish and running back to the high of that range we spoke about from last night's newsletter, which tells me to look for traps before we get back to the highs tomorrow morning. Nasdaq also bullish and rotating back to the high of the weekly range, and my plan for tomorrow is to use traps to avoid buying too high, focusing on buying as low as possible tomorrow morning. Gold is also bullish, the big spike in channel pattern tonight. Tell me to look for seller failures using this rising support trend line tomorrow morning. And the euro also bullish as well with a strong spike higher, which tells me to look for a two-legged pullback for buying opportunities down in the battle zone tomorrow morning. Boy, what a great session we had today. Lots of big moving markets. And of course, I got a great strategy and a great nightly newsletter in store for you guys and gals tomorrow. Big opportunities setting up for tomorrow's hump day session for Wednesday's session. Before we jump in though and take a look at those charts for tomorrow, I want to remind you the only place to watch the full length version of this video is here on our blog at sidewaysmarkets.com. If you're watching the video right now on our YouTube channel, not to worry. There's a link in the description of that YouTube video. Follow that link on YouTube. Join me here on the blog at sidewaysmarkets.com and enjoy the entire full-length version. While you're here, don't forget, join the mailing list. I'll send you an email every evening when our nightly newsletter goes live. Follow me on social. Lower left-hand corner, StockTwits, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever your favorite flavor of choice. Follow me throughout the week for charts, posts, and updates throughout the week. Speaking of charts, how easy is that? All the charts from tonight's video, you can have them ready on your computer for tomorrow, right where it says click here to download today's charts. Be ready for tomorrow's session. And speaking of tomorrow's session, what are you waiting for? If you're not an advanced member here at schooloftrade.com, grab that free pass in the upper right-hand corner, right, and come out and join me in the trade room as a guest this week. Don't forget, if you have any questions, I'm always here to help. Hit me up on live support on the lower right-hand side of the website. Boy, oh boy, what an exciting day today. Everything moving really well here. Did you see that euro? Oh my goodness, what a mover we had today. We're going to grab charts in just a few moments. Before we do, though, let's make sure we understand the calendar here for tomorrow. Tomorrow, of course, is Wednesday, November the 15th. Before we talk about tomorrow, though, we do have some big news. We're going to hear from the GDP number from our good friends in Japan, so be aware of that if you trade in the overnight Asian session. If you trade with us tomorrow morning, of course, we open up our trade room at 8 o'clock Eastern time. Before we open up, you've got the labor market report tomorrow morning at 4:30 a.m. If you trade in shortly after the London opening bell. And then, of course, again, tomorrow we have the consumer prices and retail sales number at 8:30 a.m. if you're with us in the trade room. Those should be the big market moving events tomorrow morning, 8:30 a.m. Eastern time. Keep an eye on that retail sales number. That should be the big market moving event. And ahead of the holiday season, I'm sure a lot of traders are watching those retail sales numbers. Now, of course, it takes a few more hours later in the morning before we run into that next big block of news, right? The petroleum status report. We call this the weekly inventory report for all you crude oil traders out there. And remember, anytime I'm trading crude oil on a Wednesday morning, there are always a couple things I like to remind you guys about. First of all, 10 a.m. Eastern time. You got to have a really good reason to be trading oil after 10 a.m. on Wednesdays. My official cutoff is 10:15 Eastern time on Wednesday morning if you're trading crude oil, right? So all the other markets won't be affected by that too much, right? Crude oil, maybe a little bit of nat gas in there, right? But of course, nat gas, we'll leave that for another conversation. The bottom line is tomorrow morning, crude traders, 10 a.m. 10 a.m. That's your big milestone tomorrow. So get to it early. Let the news come out at 10:30, right? And then pick up around 10:40, 10:45 after that chaos, right, calms down a little bit after that news comes out. So 10 a.m. tomorrow morning, early in, early out. The second thing I want to remind you is that every afternoon I publish, right, my API support and resistance levels for the following day. You can find those here on the blog. I'll put them below the video tonight. So right below the video tonight, make sure you scroll down. There's a link that says click here to read more. I'm going to publish those support and resistance levels for you guys to use for tomorrow. So real quick recap here today. If you're trading oil tomorrow, remember 10 a.m. Eastern time. right? Kind of that unofficial cutoff. My official cutoff is 10.15, and then don't forget those support and resistance levels, right? I'm going to publish here for tomorrow as well. They'll be below the video tonight, right? Below the video tonight on our blog. All right, guys? So that's the plan for tomorrow. We've got some big news tomorrow morning. Got CPI and retail sales tomorrow morning at 8:30. That should definitely get these markets moving for us tomorrow. And of course, if you're a crude trader like I am, right, we're looking at that inventory report coming out, right, tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. Eastern time. So get to it early on crude oil. Use those support and resistance levels. I'm going to publish on my blog, and you'll see them right below the video here at sidewaysmarkets.com. Looking good. Let's keep going forward here. Let's grab some charts here right now. Looking at crude oil tonight, S&P, Nasdaq, gold, and of course, we can't forget about that mighty euro. Now, crude oil is bearish after this morning's IEA report sent prices tumbling down to last month's high, right? And also down to the low of that channel. The bears have control, but with such a strong move lower today, I think most sellers will either be already short or waiting for a higher price to sell up at resistance levels tomorrow morning. My plan for tomorrow is pretty simple. Stay patient, look for rotation back to the high of that channel, right? Or watch for a potential trading range that oftentimes develops the day following a massive move like we saw today. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we do have tomorrow's inventory report. You know, it's always a bit of a question mark how the market will react ahead of that big news. We had some real big news this morning, right? We had that monthly IEA report, which we talked about in last night's newsletter, and you can see all hell broke loose today because of it. Tomorrow's another big news report tomorrow morning at 10:30 a.m. Eastern time. I've got some key levels of support and resistance I'm watching here for tomorrow's session. I'm also watching this bear channel coming down off the high and looking for selling opportunities up off the top of that channel. And I'm also thinking, you know, we might see, whenever we see this much movement in one session, oftentimes it ends up going sideways the following day, right? So that's also another thing I'm watching here, right, for tomorrow. Okay, so again, we got the inventory report tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. A lot of times it means we really don't know what to expect, so we're going to have to really kind of be patient, see what we get in the overnight session, come back tomorrow morning, right, for the London or the U.S. morning session, and really kind of see where it wants to go from there. Right now, we know the bears definitely do have control. Very strong move down. I like the idea of selling off the top of this bear channel. There's a few different ways that we can do this. You'll notice I have my battle zone drawn in off some of these prior swings here. So bottom line, if we get a lovely two-legged pullback, that would be ideal. Right, little trend line coming up. Below it, use that trend line as resistance. Right, that two-legged pullback can also be looked at as a failure as well. So two different ways to trade that move higher. Plenty of different ways to get short off that high. If you're a bear on oil, right, we're looking for selling opportunities up around, right, the top of that channel, right, up around that battle zone. Again, don't forget, whenever we see a big move like we did today, we oftentimes do see a strong move turn sideways. If we don't see sellers taking profit, but we don't see buyers even thinking about buying it, the market will likely move sideways, right? So if it moves sideways, that basically means we're still bearish. Okay, we're just not making lower lows, and we're not really pulling back off that low. If we do see it go sideways tomorrow, which is quite common after a big strong move, and we also see it quite often after or ahead of the weekly inventory report. If we do see a nice trading range going sideways tomorrow morning, my goal, as it is every time we see a trading range, is to use the two-try rule to focus on failures up above the top of that range. Now, of course, that takes care of what happens if price goes higher. Well, if price goes lower, here's some concerns we have. The prior month high, the prior month close, and obviously, right, this falling support level down here. So one of the things that oftentimes happens when a market really moves this far is it kind of keeps grinding lower like this, right? Kind of grinding lower. If it keeps grinding lower, your job is going to be don't sell low, sell high, and do that with traps tomorrow. That'll require a little bit more patience, right? But I always remind you guys, right, kind of those four phases of a trend. As the market collapses lower, this is the first phase. This is the develop, right, the developing of that trend. Well, sooner or later, sellers are going to get tired of selling low, and buyers will step in. So between profit taking from the sellers and buyers stepping in, right, we see that little short covering rally. That's phase number 2. Right now, once we see that short covering rally, the objective is to get back down to that low. And as the market goes higher, fewer buyers enter the market, more sellers get involved at higher prices, and price collapses back down to retest that low. Once we get to that low, we then look for one of two scenarios, either rejection or acceptance. If we see acceptance, we look for the breakout, pullback to that low. If we see rejection, right, we look for that trading range, and we look for it to go up so we can sell it back down again. Where are we right now? In this whole scheme of things, where are we right now? We are right here. Right? We're in the first phase of this trend. I'm looking for a move up so I can go back down to retest that low. But what if it keeps going lower? What if it keeps going lower? We're still in phase 1. So I'm looking for phase 2, profit taking rally, right? And then I can sell it back down to that low. So the moral of the story is, if we keep going lower, that doesn't mean I can now sell low. It just means I've got some more patience to work on. If it keeps going lower, I still want to wait for that short covering rally so I can sell it back down again. You'll get a whole lot more profit selling high at resistance than you will selling low at support, right? I realize that sometimes the markets keep going lower, but it's very important to understand we're not going to get days like we saw today every day of the week. So I'm trying to sell high up at resistance, right? I'm trying to avoid selling low tomorrow. Really, anything can happen ahead of that inventory report, so keep your eyes open. I'll be with you guys, of course, tomorrow morning in the trade room as of 8 o'clock Eastern time. How do we turn bullish? Is it possible this could be a bull market? Well, it's not bullish right now, but what would it take to turn bullish? Well, I think 3 things, right? Strength, pullback, and strength. And in fact, as I mentioned every night on this newsletter, a bear market does not turn bullish when the bears give up control. It turns bullish when the bulls take control. How do the bulls take control? Well, look at the bears, right? The bears had a strong move down, right? They held their pullback and they ran. Okay, that's how this market turned from being a range-bound market we talked about last night into a strong bear market today. So I need to see equal or greater strength for the buyers, right? Look at how strong this move down was this afternoon. I need to see something just as strong or stronger if I'm going to intimidate those sellers and allow the buyers to get a grip on this market. So what you want to think is, let's get above that trend line, right? Let's get above the top of that channel. Let's hold that channel as support. And then if I start seeing these buyers really punch the pedal here going higher, then we know we have a bull market. And in that situation, I'll mark up my new channel. I like to mark up that prior swing and wait for that pullback to buy on the way up. Where would the target be for the bulls tomorrow? You got it, back up to retest that high. And don't be surprised if we see a bullish reaction to that news report tomorrow. I'll tell you, I don't know how they plan this ahead of time, but these markets have a great way of manifesting, right? A big move down ahead of major news, almost just as if to set things up for a big move up, right, in the wake of the news tomorrow morning and tomorrow afternoon. We're not there yet. We're not there yet, but keep those eyes peeled for that strength, pullback strength. And don't forget, it's not enough to get a strong move higher. We get strong moves higher all the time. If they can't hold, this will get sold right back down, right, to retest that low. Sell it high, don't sell it low. Keep an eye out for a little trading range down here. If that is the case, right, look to sell with those failures above going back down. Once again, don't forget that news tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. Eastern time, and keep your eyes on those short-term support and resistance levels. Moving on here now, over to the S&P. The S&P is bullish and trying to finish rotation back to the high of the range from last night's newsletter. So my plan for tomorrow is pretty simple. Look for buying opportunities at support levels on the way back up to retest that high. Now, one thing that stands out on this chart is that we stalled out at this midterm high at 78 1/4. That tells me that buyers are weary of chasing this move higher. So I'm going to have to stay patient here for a pullback into the battle zone for reliable buying opportunities tomorrow morning. Today, we got some big moves in today's session. We got some big news tomorrow, retail sales and inventories tomorrow. We got ranges on the E-minis, strong moves on the commodities. Boy, what more could you ask for? Don't forget, tomorrow morning we'll be in our trade room at 8 o'clock Eastern Time, and we are going to have a great Wednesday session. If I don't see you there tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock Eastern Time, don't forget you can learn all about the strategy that we use here at School of Trade. Make sure you join our free trial. If you're on the YouTube channel, there's a link below the YouTube video. Follow that link and come join me on the free trial on the homepage, schooloftrade.com. While you're here, don't forget, beginner, intermediate, advanced classes, and I'm always here to help answer all your questions 24/7, 365. Boy, that time flies when you're having fun. I've taken up way too much of your valuable time. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Don't forget to send me feedback. Don't forget to share this with a friend. And don't forget to check out those new psychology videos on my YouTube channel every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Guys, what a great day we've had today. I'll see you again for tomorrow. Adios, amigos. Bye-bye for now.